Good morning and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Coffee. All right, so just a fair warning. I've got several topics to be covering today, but there is no way for me to kind of connect them together, so this is going to be a little disjointed. But also, and I guess looking back, that's probably most episodes. They're just a jumbled mess of the topics that I'm wanting to talk about that week. But I feel like normally I do a pretty good job of segueing, but maybe not. So let's just get into it. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is the retro GameStops. So GameStop is opening up these new stores across the nation, and they're going to be across the U.S. and they're going to be focused on retro consoles. So they're buckling down on physical media and selling consoles and games for everything between 1985 and 2012. Like Game Boy, Super Nintendo, the DS, GameCube, the OG Xbox, even Dreamcast. Hell yeah. I'm about it. And I would definitely rent or buy games if and only if they were actually reasonably priced. None of that selling an Xbox 360 for $200 bullcrap. That's just not what it's worth. And I'm pretty excited because I actually just picked up a Xbox 360 and I have a PlayStation 2 in storage still. So I just picked up that 360 at a yard sale earlier this year, and I've been really wanting to play retro games, and I think this is actually gonna work out well. I feel like we had this like curve of where stores had to get rid of all their digital media, and then we're at this point where everyone really wants retro stuff, and it kind of goes along with this frustration that people are having where in the video game world, and actually in movies and TV shows too, where buying is not ownership. And so these corporations are able to say, you can buy this, and then they can just take it down, and you lost your purchase permanently. And so the full quote there is something like, if buying isn't owning, then theft isn't, or then, you know what? I meant to write this down. Yeah, if buying isn't owning, pirating isn't stealing. And it just kind of feeds into that of all this frustration lately about how in physical media, at least you knew that nobody could come in and just take your game away just because they didn't want to host it on a server anymore. And so I think that we're at this perfect opportunity for GameStop to be opening up these retro game stores, and I think they're going to do pretty good. We see a lot of other retro stuff popping up lately. Like I've mentioned these on the podcast before, but the Retro Crush on Roku, which is just like all retro anime streaming for free, and then you see like the Retro Sesame Street coming back on PBS Retro. And I'm also seeing, in the last 2 years, I've seen a lot more YouTube compilations of like Boomerang cartoons and Cartoon Network, and some other, and Toonami stuff. And they like bring back even like the retro commercials and put them in between. The full length shows, and so I think it's at this point it's probably well known that especially millennials are experiencing this desire for the way things were 20 years ago when it comes to digital media, and so I think this is going to work out really well for them, and I will definitely be patronizing them if possible, because the hard part is trying to find one of these stores. I doubt they're going to be around me. Okay. So I've been feeling a little tense lately. And I'm realizing that I don't really have a good blow off steam hobby. And so I've been trying to find one, right? And whenever I search online, pretty much everyone includes in their list D&D. And that's great. It is definitely a stress reliever, but I am always and only the guy running the games. So it's not possible for me to actually blow off steam because I'm too busy trying to wrangle all the players. I'm too busy like trying to keep the world together and the quests and blah blah blah. And so it's not really a stress reliever hobby for me. And when it comes to the gym, like I have such a packed schedule in my life and always have that making the kind of dedicated time to go to the gym to see results, it's just not feasible at this point in time. And people say, "Oh, you just go for like 10-15 minutes." And I'm like, even if you're not getting results. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. Like if I'm not getting results, it's just going to make me more frustrated that I'm going to the gym, right? And then so then I was thinking about walks. I could go on walks with Sissy. And that's good. That definitely helps me blow off steam. And we can just walk and walk, walk. Problem is, once that middle of winter comes, there's no way that that's going to be feasible. Sissy is not going to want to do that. And I'm not going to want to trudge through snow. It's just going to make me cold, frustrated, and sick. And then my creative hobbies, they're not quite there for blowing off steam. So maybe I need to, reevaluate how I look at one of these hobbies or like, just keep looking for other options. But this has been something I've been spending my week on trying to figure out what's a good hobby for blowing off steam. Because like playing video games also, like it's a fun way to spend time. And I enjoy like seeing the stories unfold, but it doesn't blow off steam either. So anyways, I'm just going to have to keep looking. That's just where I'm at. And eventually if I can find one that I can actually do, and maybe I just find like, the walking one, I can just rely on that, but then during the winter try to pick up something else. Okay, here's some exciting news. I finished a notebook. This is a pretty rare event because I will pick up a notebook, I will use half of it, and then I'll pick up a new shiny notebook, and I'll use that, and I'll just keep on going. So I honestly don't remember the last time I even finished another notebook, and I used the last page of it for notes for today's episode. And it's literally the only page left in here, and you hear that? That is the last single page in this notebook. And I am so excited to throw this away after this episode. Proud of myself. I've definitely had this notebook at least sometime around 2021 is possibly 2020 is when I got this notebook. Based on the cover and where I was at in my life when I know I picked up this notebook. And so I'm just thrilled that I am actually at the end of a notebook. And the funny thing is, I was going through the pages 2 days ago to empty out and make sure to digitize anything, because I like in my notebooks I'll have everything from like world building stuff to these are to-dos to like various like podcasting ideas. And so I transferred them to the digital versions of those files for the longer term storage so that I could start weeding out and find those stuff easier. But I threw out all the pages and I got down to the last two earlier this week. And then Faith and I were sitting down last night, and she goes, "Hey, what'd you do with the that notebook that I wrote in the other day that had the wedding budget numbers in it?" And I go, like the blue one. She's like, I don't remember the color. It just opened like this. And I was like, that's the blue one. She's like, where is it? And I looked at her and I went, I threw it away. And she was shooketh at the fact that I had thrown away any notebook pages. And she's like, I've never seen you throw away any notebook pages ever. What are you doing? Oh my God, we need those numbers. And I was like, well, did you transfer them to digital? And she goes, no, I did not. And I was like, well, that's a problem. And she's like, yes, it is. And so we just kind of stared at each other. And then I got up and I went to work because I went to my office because I knew that I had thrown the pages away in my office trash can. And thankfully, the maintenance workers or the custodians only throw away my trash can once about every week or two. And they had just cleaned it out the day before, so the only thing in there were those notebook papers. So I found it. And to be clear, it's not like it's our entire budget written down there. It was a couple of items that she had spent money on that hadn't been recorded yet in the spent column of the budget for the wedding. So it's not like we couldn't have retracked those numbers down, but I managed to get it. And so look at that. I try to clear out a notebook. I try to be responsible and finish one, and it just comes back to bite me in the ass. What can you do? More exciting news. But this is going to sound incredibly boring to everyone. I'm emptying out my emails too. And let me tell you what. I wish that I could explain how good it feels to be emptying out my emails. I'm saying that I have, I've managed to contain it to about 500. I don't think I ever let it get worse than that. But of those emails, probably 70 to 85% of those 500 emails are like ones that I actually needed to keep for some reason. And now that I'm no longer the alumni president, I get to clear those emails out and move on. And so it's part of this like larger project that I'm doing of like, we didn't have a storage system for all of the alumni board documents, other than it being various parts of it's being stored on various different alumni emails, which is an absolute nightmare for everyone involved. And so I created this whole storage system with a folder structure, detailed breakdown of what kind of files go into what folders. And so after that folder process was built and all the different folders were made and the new storage system, I started emptying out my emails because I've got something like 8 years of related documents that need uploaded into that, stored on 2 different Google Drives. And see, I'm contributing to the problem. And my emails. And so I started with my Google Drives, but I was like, no, let's start with emails instead. And so I've been working through my emails and seeing that number tick down every day as I transfer the documents in there to the new folder system, this new storage system. Maybe that's my stress relief hobby, because it feels amazing to be getting rid of all of this digital clutter. I feel like I have way more control over the digital clutter than kind of real life clutter. But watching it, just like 500, 440, 420, 400, 350, like seeing those numbers tick down. I've gotten rid of a couple hundred emails so far and got those files taken away. And God, that's it. I think this is my hobby. My mom used to move furniture when I was a kid to blow off steam. She would reorganize the house. Maybe just reorganizing digital systems is my stress release hobby. Probably a lot of people don't share that idea, but I think this might be the one I'm gonna have to commit to. Okay. Um. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about today was fantasy football. Now I'm not good at fantasy football, and I played in two leagues last year, and before that, I played in one league in like 2017, and I didn't do a single thing in that. I had my roommate, shout out Eli, uh, basically tell me everything to do, and I only did it for the first 6 weeks, and then I never touched my team again. And I still ended up coming in like third or fourth place, I think that time. And so, cool, and never did it again. And then I was asked if I wanted to join two different leagues last year, and I wanted to hang out with these people. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it, sure. I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to draft a team, and I just kind of randomly picked. I was like, oh, it says I need a kicker. All right, let's get a kicker in like round 6. Even the draft system had a sound effect for me. What the? And I was like, oh, apparently that was a bad idea. And so I learned a lesson. I did middle of the road last season. Still don't know what I was really doing. And then I'm in both of those two same leagues again this year. And this time, I came in with a strategy. I did a little bit of research on players. I asked around. I read up on like optimum team picking strategy. I tried talking to Gemini AI about it a little bit. Don't ask Gemini for advice. That was bad. That was not a good idea. And so I've kind of got two teams hobbled together, and I'll do better, I hope, than I did last year, or at least I'll be more competent at at playing fantasy football this year. I at this point I have no intention of actually watching the games though, because I don't really want to pay for 6 different streaming services to watch the games throughout the season. But I have decided that I'm going to be kind of outsourcing. Excuse me. I'm going to be kind of outsourcing some of how I play, and so every Wednesday evening for the next 16 weeks, I am going to be streaming fantasy football, and for about an hour every Wednesday evening, and I'm going to be reviewing all the trade offers and adjusting my my team, taking people off the bench or on the bench, and just generally taking advice from Twitch. And we're gonna see how well that works out for me. I could fall victim to trolls. I could not. We'll see. But I'm gonna kind of just go out and trust the wild out there. So if you're interested in that, that would be Alcove Pod on Twitch, and we're gonna be doing that. I need to decide on a time. I'm thinking maybe like 6 o'clock Pacific time on Wednesdays. I might be streaming that. I think that might be the optimum time. This first one out the gate might be, no, Maybe 5:30. Be the first thing I do when I get off work. Yeah, let's do 5:30 to 6:30 every Wednesday for the next 16 weeks. We're gonna be streaming fantasy football, so we'll see how it goes. Or when does football season even start? Because it might not be this week that I start streaming. Football season start September 5th. Okay, so yeah, starting this Wednesday, September 4th. And I'll see about getting that all stream taken care of and getting everyone's input. Okay, and that's it for Saturday morning coffee. Like I thought, it was disjointed. But you know what? These were the major things that were coming up in my week. This week, these are the major things that came up in my week, and it's what I wanted to talk about. You know, if you were sitting here with a cup of coffee, so maybe next week I'm gonna try for a consistent episode. But those are more like the Wednesday things. All right, I'm rambling. All right, thank you so much for joining me on Saturday Morning Coffee. I hope your coffee tasted delightful.